The U.S. has launched major retaliatory airstrikes on Iranian-backed militants after that deadly drone attack that killed 3 U.S. soldiers and injured dozens of others in Jordan.
After a drone attack in Jordan left 3 American soldiers dead, there's talk about how President Biden might respond to Iran. Some people want strong action, even bombing Tehran. But it's tricky. Too much or too little could lead to bigger problems. Let's look at the different ideas and the risks involved. Just a few hours after a drone attack in Jordan killed 3 American soldiers and injured over 30, some strong voices are telling President Biden to bomb Iran. They're worried about Iran and its friends causing problems in the Middle East. Some people say the US needs to be tougher to stop Iran from doing more bad things. But it's not that simple. Doing too much might make things worse. We need to be careful and think before taking big actions. We're still not sure exactly how much Iran is involved, so maybe talking to them is a better idea. Diplomacy, talking instead of fighting, might be the best way to go. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham strongly believes that the United States should take immediate and forceful action against Iran. He expressed this view on Twitter by saying, "Hit Iran now. Hit them hard." This tweet shows his urgency and support for a swift military strike on Iran. Senator Graham's colleague, Senator John Cornyn, was even more direct in his message. He straightforwardly stated on Twitter, "Target Tehran," leaving no room for interpretation. Cornyn's brief message strongly advocates for specifically aiming at the capital of Iran. Senator Tom Cotton strongly suggested that if President Biden doesn't respond to Iran with direct retaliation and instead opts for a more restrained approach, it would portray him as a leader lacking courage and unfit for the role of commander-in-chief. According to Senator Cotton, not taking aggressive action would, in his view, demonstrate that President Biden is not equipped to oversee the armed forces. The Biden administration stated that U.S. intelligence attributes the drone strike to radical Iran-backed militant groups in Syria and Iraq. The Associated Press reported that groups in Iraq were specifically responsible, and the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, a coalition of Iran-backed militias, claimed to have targeted U.S. personnel without explicitly confirming responsibility for this specific attack. Iran denies any connection to the strike, stating that decisions by resistance groups are made independently, although it remains the primary supporter of such groups with close ties through its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. For several months, the Biden administration has been actively working to adopt a cautious strategy to curb the attacks orchestrated by Iran-backed militants in Iraq and Syria. These militants have targeted U.S. Armed Forces members in those regions approximately 165 times since October, according to a U.S. authority. The administration's aim has been to prevent the conflict in the Middle East, initially centered around the Gaza Strip, from escalating into a full-fledged regional war. The scope of the conflict has expanded to include southern Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. In response, the Biden administration has carried out 8 rounds of airstrikes on Iranian-affiliated groups in Iraq and Syria since October. A similar number of strikes were conducted against the Iran-supported Houthi rebel group in Yemen. The administration aimed to adopt a balanced strategy, deterring further attacks while preventing the situation from escalating into an open military conflict. Their goal was to send a message through measured yet effective countermeasures without adding to tensions. Only time will tell if this approach can successfully reduce violence in the region without causing unintended escalation. In the face of significant political pressure in Washington, especially following the deadliest attack on American military personnel in the region in 4 years, President Biden seems to be indicating that the previous strategy of limited attacks on Iranian-backed militia compounds in Iraq and Syria, along with intercepting Houthi missiles in Yemen, may no longer be sufficient to appease critics. The recent deadly ambush that resulted in numerous American casualties might prompt a reassessment of strategies that have predominantly involved minimal and isolated strikes against militias allied with Iran in the volatile region. There could be a shift towards stronger, more comprehensive measures aimed at thwarting Tehran's expansion of influence and deterring further fatal attacks on U.S. troops stationed abroad. Last night was a challenging time for us in the Middle East, as we tragically lost 3 brave individuals during an attack on one of our facilities. President Biden addressed the tragic events while speaking in South Carolina, expressing condolences for the fallen warriors and assuring that a response was underway. The dangerous circumstances that military personnel often face were highlighted, with these guardians sacrificing their lives in service of their country. Although conflicts will unfortunately continue overseas, their dedication and sacrifice will not be forgotten. We mourn their sudden loss and extend our deepest condolences to all those affected by this heartbreaking incident. As the U.S. Defense Department makes military plans for Biden to think about, Foreign Policy spoke to former officials and experts. They suggested 3 possible actions: attacking inside Iran, targeting Iranian places in the area, or trying diplomatic solutions. In the midst of global tensions, one thing's crystal clear. We need your support more than ever, not for a covert operation, but to hit that subscribe button harder than a diplomatic debate. Join our mission for more enlightening debriefs. Option 1. Strikes inside Iran. After the drone strike on Tower 22, a crucial U.S. logistics hub in Jordan, critics of the Biden administration have come together in their doubt. They argue that the cautious approach to attacks on Iranian allies might have unintentionally made Iran more confident. These critics believe that taking only small actions may have let Iran control how the situation escalates. Former U.S. military officials who share this view say that the only impactful response is to carry out extensive strikes directly inside Iran. Retired 3-star Navy Admiral John Miller, who previously commanded the U.S. Fifth Fleet in the Persian Gulf, emphasizes the necessity of direct strikes on Iran. Miller argues that Iran employs a strategy of continuous provocation until a perceived red line is reached. According to him, that red line has been crossed, and Iran needs to be held accountable for its actions. Miller suggests a multifaceted approach involving strikes targeting the economic interests of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and disrupting its ability to ship weapons internationally. Additionally, he advocates for imposing sanctions aimed at further debilitating Iran's capacity to export oil. The goal, Miller emphasizes, should go beyond a mere tit-for-tat retaliation, especially when dealing with Iranian proxies as they appear willing to continue fighting regardless. As decisions loom for President Biden, the question is whether he might push the U.S. into a big war. Will he choose to bomb Tehran? The situation is uncertain, with people sharing different views. It's a tough balance, needing careful steps to deal with the challenges without making things worse. Do you know when President Biden will start bombing? When you stop watching our videos. Watch the next video on the screen right now.